Why does a garden that's almost 700 years old look more admired today than it ever did when it was new? It's not because someone has spent centuries quietly repairing it back to the original design. The monk who built this garden wanted raked white sand, clean lines, order. Then a flood came. Then a war. Then a few centuries of nobody having the money to fix any of it. Moss started growing over everything he'd built. Nobody scraped it off. Nobody repaired it back to plan. They just let the damage become the garden. Today, that ruined design is one of the most visited, most photographed, most quietly beloved places in Japan. You have probably spent a lot of your life trying to fix things about yourself. The tired parts, the aging parts, the parts that used to be certain and now feel a little worn at the edges. Somewhere along the way, you learned that worn means broken. Japan has spent centuries deciding otherwise, not through a slogan, but through 6 specific things it looks at every single year and simply does not try to correct. Not because it doesn't notice the imperfection, because it has decided the imperfection was never the problem. Here are 6 things Japanese culture never tries to fix. And by the end, you may find yourself wondering why you were ever trying to fix the same things in yourself. Number 6, the cherry blossoms. Every spring, millions of people across Japan gather under sakura trees for hanami, blossom viewing. But here's what almost nobody explains. The trees are only in full bloom for about a week, sometimes less. The flowers aren't admired despite the fact that they're already dying. They're admired because of it. This is the root of a much older idea called mono no aware, a gentle awareness that something is passing, and letting that awareness make the moment more precious, not less. Nobody tries to breed a cherry tree that blooms forever. That would defeat the entire point of standing under one. Number 5, the autumn leaves. Every November, another mass seasonal ritual happens across Japan. Momijigari, literally hunting for maple leaves. People travel for hours just to watch a tree's leaves turn red and gold before they die and drop. Notice what's actually being celebrated. Not a leaf at its healthiest, mid-photosynthesis, doing exactly what a leaf is supposed to do. A leaf in the act of shutting down. Nobody drives 3 hours to watch a green leaf. The color only exists because the leaf is dying, and that transformation, not the leaf's prior health, is the part worth traveling for. Number 4, the cracked bowl. You've probably heard of kintsugi, the Japanese practice of repairing broken pottery with gold-dusted lacquer, so the crack becomes visible instead of hidden. It traces back to the wabi-cha tea movement of the 15th and 16th centuries, a discipline that valued a humble, hand-marked vessel over a flawless one. Here's the part worth sitting with. The technique doesn't erase the break. It highlights it, in gold, at the exact place it happened. The bowl isn't repaired to look like it was never broken. It's repaired to show, permanently, that it survived being broken. Number 3, pottery that refuses to match. In the late 1500s, the tea master Senno Rikyu worked closely with a potter named Chojiro to make simple hand-formed tea bowls, the earliest raku ware. No two came out the same. No decoration, no symmetry, no attempt to smooth away the marks of the hand that made it. A few hours north in Shigaraki, potters were doing something even more extreme, firing bowls in wood-burning kilns and letting the flames and falling ash decide the final color and texture. Every piece comes out of the kiln looking different than planned, and that unrepeatable result is the entire reason collectors want it. Nobody at either kiln is trying to make the correct bowl. They're making peace with whatever the fire decides. Number 2, a shrine that Japan has never tried to preserve. Ise Grand Shrine, Japan's most sacred Shinto site, is built from plain, unpainted cypress wood. No lacquer, no gilding, nothing to protect the surface from age. And every 20 years, since roughly the 7th century, the entire shrine is taken down and rebuilt from scratch on a plot right next to the old one. Same design, same techniques, brand new wood. Think about how differently that treats aging than we usually do. Ise isn't restored to hide its wear. It's allowed to age exactly as far as wood naturally ages. And then, instead of patching it, an entirely new one is built beside it, using skills only kept alive because every generation of carpenters has to practice them again. The shrine is never frozen in place. It's just kept alive. And number 1, the garden from the beginning of this video. In 1339, the Zen priest Muso Soseki designed Saihoji's garden in Kyoto as a dry landscape. Raked white sand, careful stone arrangement, no moss at all. Over the following centuries, the temple burned during a war, flooded more than once, and eventually ran out of money to keep restoring it the way it was originally drawn. Moss, completely uninvited, spread across the grounds during the difficult years that followed. Nobody planted it. For a long time, nobody could even afford to remove it. And at some point, the monks simply stopped trying. They let the moss stay, tended it, and it slowly became the reason the entire world now calls this place the Moss Temple, one of the most visited gardens in Japan, admired for exactly the thing that was never part of the original design. The damage didn't ruin the garden. Left alone long enough, it became the garden. 6 things: a flower already falling, a leaf already dying, a crack made visible in gold, a bowl that came out of the fire looking nothing like planned, a shrine that's rebuilt instead of restored, a garden that became famous for the exact damage it was never supposed to have. Not one of them was fixed. All 6 were simply allowed to keep changing, and every one of them ended up more loved for it, not less. You don't need a Japanese garden to try this. You need one part of your own life you've been quietly trying to fix. A tired season, a changed relationship, a version of yourself that used to be simpler and now isn't. What would it look like to stop repairing that part back to how it was, and instead just let it keep changing, out loud in the open, the way the moss did? You might find, the same way that garden did, that it was never really broken. It was just becoming what it is now.